Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen and others. This is another scene in Project Center Oslo. This time, a two uh, split screen scene, so to speak, where we first will start by having the newest member of the Progenitor Convention, Sander Thor, a former American soldier, a Marine, if I seem to recall correctly, who after that sought a more peaceful post in Norway and then awake and then had an epiphany, if you want to use proper technocratic vernacular about these things, to the greater possibilities of science and how might is all that's needed in this world to change it. Uh, but if you're going to get that might, you first have to be taught. And since he joined, Sander has been given a supervisor, the same person who found him, Lee Chang 2.0, who loved to get his hands on some fresh meat, so to speak. So,
I'm
Sander,
not wearing a pink bow.
you're,
I am not wearing a pink bow.
you will wear a pink bow if Lee Chang wants you to. But
I will not wear a pink bow.
But Lee Chang does not think you're not one of his creations or their creations, so you do not deserve a pink bow. You're not worthy of it. Anyway, after Sander's gone through his conditioning, been made to realize that mages and superstitionists are evil, and the Technocratic Union are the great champions of order and sanity in a chaotic universe. Okay. Sander will now finally be sent out of the farm, which was the front he was previously stationed at, to a place within Oslo called Mariah's Friendly Pet Store. It's a nice, quaint little store. It's not a chain store, but it's a quaint little store in the central part of Oslo, near the coast, near the coastline, near the pier. It's nice. It has some lavender scented candles in there. You can hear the nice squeaking of hamsters, and the nice young woman who's leading you through this store, who presumably is the Mariah in question, will press a button on the back end of the store near the fish tanks. The wall will open up, leading to an elevator. A very nice elevator, but elevator nonetheless. The elevator takes you down, because you're practically pushed into it, takes you down into an underground facility, just straight under the pet store. You can hear weirder sounds here. You can hear all sorts of croaking, all sorts of sounds.
Sounds black metal down here.
And then suddenly you hear screams, very loud animalistic shrieks that end in silence. Maria just smiles and you'll get used to it. You'll get used to it. She leads you through the cramped corridors of which it's not a long walk. It's like less than a minute, and then she presses on the door and it whooshes up, almost Star Wars style. And inside of the room, you see a long brown-haired man with hemichromatic eyes. So in this case, one green, one brown, and on his left hand he has a long gauntlet with several syringes and what looks to be scalpels on his thumb and little finger and stuff. And pinned to the table is some kind of humanoid creature with long black fur and long nails. It looks almost like an ape. It's huge, mind you. It's more than humanoid. It's like we're talking like 8 to 9 feet tall here. It's struggling in vain to try and rip itself out of the restraints. And as the door closes, the man will turn to look at you. Ah, Fresh meat. Hello! He whittles his syringe fingers at you.
He salutes.
You might not recognize me. I'm the one who picked you up. I'm your supervisor. He does a bow. Li Cheng. Not at your service, but I'm here to teach you the ropes. Come on.
Okay. He's kind of looking sidelong at the gauntlet as he goes along, where his instructor leads him. He remembers the stick of those needles in the neck and in the thigh and wherever the fuck else.
Details. As you can see here, this is reality deviant. And I know that some people might say that it's a bit early for you to encounter one of them, but I believe that education should have a practical approach. So you see there, this entity is a shapeshifter of sorts. It has the ability to rearrange its physical structure from a humanoid form to this more ape-like creature.
Peculiar.
Yes. Now, this one was causing some problems for members of our beloved brothers and sisters in the syndicate. They were so helpful in letting us keep him after members of damage control, along with some of their enforcers, brought this creature in, which is quite dangerous. Now, we today are going to dissect this creature and understand the way it works, and potentially take some of the organ grafts out and see if we can make them into working biological modifications in some agents. You might be eligible for those if you prove to have the stomach for that kind of thing. Now,
interesting.
Yes. Now, as you can see by the restraints, in addition to having its arms and legs trapped, we have also blinded the creature, because it seems to according to our studies, it has abilities to enter into extra-dimensional space if it looks at artificial reflective surfaces. This is, of course, all nonsense, but we don't want to risk that it could potentially do that, and we didn't need his eyes for much anyway. Now, he pulls out a drawer with loads of surgical tools. Today, we are going to start by showing how you can examine light patterns. As you have been taught the basics of the life sciences, if you could take up one of the nearby devices there. I will do it myself. He pulls out a sort of tiny scanner thing with like a tiny antenna whirling around and a nice display screen, and puts it in your hand. Now, if you can aim this at the creature. You can read its how do I put it? You can read its biological makeup by doing this. So I want you to try and activate the device. Okay, you roll Arete.
Okay.
Since you are in a front and everything, this will give you it's coincidental. Just roll Arete. Difficulty for this roll is 4. I will get into the.
Whoops, what did I do wrong?
You rolled a d4, not a d10.
Oh, okay. My bad.
So just roll 1d10. Yeah. You're free to roll again, by the way. The only reason I'm making you roll is potentially you could botch, so just roll 1d10 again, as he looks at you kind of impatiently, waiting for you to get this device rolling.
I'm going to go ahead and spend a willpower point because I don't want to leave the professor waiting.
Good. That's very good. Yeah. You should get 2 successes anyway. So you get a very nice, good scan of this creature. For one, you notice that despite its eyes being blinded, it seems to be in good physical health, and its body is remarkably quickly trying to repair the structural damage.
Wow, this guy can heal himself. Damn.
Well,
I've never
yes.
seen patterns like these before.
Well, you have barely seen life patterns before, so it's not that surprising. But yes, as you can see by the indication of the device, this creature, in addition to being remarkably strong and quick, which I'm sure the life sites you read from the scan, which it is, this creature also repairs itself very quickly. So if I were to do this, he takes his scalp, he takes his pinky finger with the scalpel and just like cuts a long line along the creature's chest, and you see before your very eyes the scar tissue or the cut just almost closes almost instantly.
He cans his head and he's like, remarkable.
Yes, it is. It is remarkable. Now,
how is he not invoking paradox? This is clearly magic of some sort.
well, no. There's no such thing as magic. Let's have that understood. Now, reality deviancy takes many forms, and some reality deviants do not experience rejection or the paradox effect or whatever you would call it. Rejection is our term as a living organism, that is, the world rejects things that are not supposed to be in it. But these creatures experience permanent weaknesses that, after some time of study, I've been able to discover. In addition to similar reality, this creature reacts to silver, which, of course, is a byproduct of latent belief that such creature would respond to. Now, now observe this. He takes out another knife. This time it's a silver knife. He pulls it out of his pocket. Now, he presses it into the wound, and you can see the creature right hard under the strain. I didn't subject it to anesthesia for that very reason. Also, because drugs and similar things wear off remarkably quickly on creatures such as this, due to its ability to reconstitute itself. And he takes out the knife and then flips it back in. Now, as you might notice, this wound does not heal quickly.
It's severely aggravated too.
Yes, you're entirely correct. Now, we are going to have to talk about the bigger complexities of life. But I think it's time that we open this creature up. And I do not believe in cruelty when performing procedures such as this. I have prepared, and if the creature keeps repairing itself while we are operating, that's not going to be good. So he flips up his middle finger, inadvertently flipping you off, but he doesn't seem to realize it. This syringe contains a liquid that will slow down and not outright eliminate its healing factor considerable. What we will do then is that he puts his hand on the gorilla-ish creature's head and turns it to the side, almost with not with a cracking sound, but it would have cracked a normal creature's neck, but it seems to be really resilient. We are now going to inject it right into its brain, and it jabs the needle right into its temple, and you can see the orangey liquid being just pressed into its brain. Now, given some time, the creature's tissue regeneration will be eliminated by this. Flop! It just pulls out the needle. And as he's just, sort of singing to himself, out of the corner you can suddenly see the large spider creature just coming out with a pink polka dot ball on it. Let it remain hidden. And this horrifying creature just like it just butts against his leg and it's like, Mr. Funny Face. There you are. There you are. So sit up down. I might make this your new corpse armor if it retains that shape after that. What do you think? The spider just yes. I don't actually, it doesn't actually talk, but I get it's a sort of restless to this fix. Anyway, now the tissue should not be regenerating itself. And with that, he just casually rips open the stomach, like off the skin above the chest and stuff. Now, get me the special saw for this thing, so we have to cut open the bone structure here to look at the organs. And he... your scanner also picks up that this creature is in extreme duress and damage.
He's kind of covering his eyes a little bit, like, he's probably getting sprayed with blood and shit, too.
Yeah. You get some blood on you, sure. Yeah, I have a very nice cleaning solution for that stuff. So don't worry. It's a part of the profession to get our hands dirty here. And he starts roaming around in the chest cavity and taking up organs, and up from his shoulder, a sort of scanning device plops up, and yes, we all need to we need to categorize some of these organs and see if they're worthwhile. It's a careful procedure to properly extract these and see if we can use them later. But for now, shove them back in. I think we're getting the picture. Okay, I think we should put it in stasis for now. I don't want to cut it open again. So he jabs with 2 more needles. I've had to specially modify my normal tranquilizers to deal with it, but it should be sufficient. And if not, we can always just do this. And he jabs the silver knife right into its foot. That should keep it docile. Now, let's go for lunch.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that I could eat.
You, by the way, you're not quite at the triggering point yet, but it's almost. This is very close. Very close to, ruining your day.
Yeah.
As he steps out through the door, let's listen to this short. Anyway, you're going to do damage control. Why don't I teach you something first? Come on. Takes you into a larger room where this is much more comfortable for you. It's a shooting range.
Yes.
We import certain specimens here to practice, but I should show you some weaponry. He shows you, he pulls out like a rack with guns from the wall, and they look sort of like normal guns, like a bit futuristic, but it's not like lasers or anything. But as you can see from some of these weapons, we have modified them a bit. Like this, for example. He pulls out a gun and hands it to you. This is a modified dart rifle. That each shot contains a life pattern destroying bullet, which essentially an acid that when shot into people will degrade their body from within. As the liquid spreads through the bloodstream, and then it's first latent, but after a few seconds it will then activate, and during that time it is spread through a large portion of the body, therefore damaging the structural integrity to a much larger degree than if it was just poured in from, let's say, the shoulder and immediately started working. Now, some of these rifles are a bit beyond you, but I just wanted to see that when you have been taught more of the advanced science behind operating these devices, you will be able to use your considerable field training to your advantage. Now, this gun is more your speed. It has a scanning device on it, which will let you see, be able to better, for one, will let you aim more easily, both in the terms of you being able to calculate distance, it calculates distances for you, and it also registers live targets, live patterns. So you should try to activate this rifle, which is, of course, essentially it's asking you to do a correspondence life effect. So you just roll and activate it again.
All right.
All right, same difficulty, difficulty 4.
Oh, I guess I might as well burn another will point. Make sure it works.
Yeah, you can.
Whoops.
Yeah, it's an exclamation mark. Excellent. So, as the rifle homes in, suddenly several creatures are released out into the shooting range. They look to be dogs. And your scanner picks them up, and you can certainly read. You can see the heart. You can see that they're alive and their general physical condition. And your rifle lets you much more accurately aim at them. With this essentially will reduce due to the amount of successes since you spend willpower. This will reduce shooting difficulties by 2, as it specifically targets aim and live patterns. It's a very nifty tool to use. Now you can start practicing shooting these dogs. Don't worry, rubber bullets in this gun, so they will not be perfectly hard. But it is to help teach you how to utilize your enlightened science in addition to your training. And with that, we can cut away from that scene and turn to another. Whoop whoop. So you are, on the other hand, in the front you work at, screen fixers, and since you are now kind of in between projects at present, you've gotten the optional project presented to you, and you can start working on it. But it also leaves something that few technocrats get to experience much of: precious free time that you can now do other things with, like going on your computer, for example, and looking up stuff. Are you there, Jason?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, we're turning to you now.
Yay.
Yes. So what I said was that, yeah, you're in your front screen fixers, you have free time for one, because you're in between projects at present, and you can now, do stuff.
Okay, so I don't need to do the computers role that we talked about.
Well, you can do it. It's a sort of optional, like, do you want to advance quickly project? You don't have to do it.
Yes.
Yeah, you can make that role, and then you can pursue your free time activities as.
Right. What was the difficulty for
that? This is going to be designing. It's going to be difficulty 8, intelligence plus computers.
Okay. Does that get brought down to 6 due to a particular merit?
Which merit in particular do you think about?
Computer aptitude.
In this instance, yes.
Okay. Here we go.
Since you're doing the coding for this thing, it's not that hyper advanced coding, but for someone with your abilities.
That is 5 successes or 6 if their specialty applies. I don't imagine it does, but that's still 5 successes either way.
5 successes is great. That you made a lot of projects doing the basic coding and hardware design for this machine that you've been given. That you begin some of the specs for. So at least when the specialist workers come in, you will have given them a nice solid foundations to work from rather than having to create the entire system by themselves. Great stuff. Now, you want to read about aliens. Is that correct?
Yes.
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 Well, you have to do the proper thing, of course, as you go onto the local computer network via your front, which is apply for permission. With your credentials, of course, and since you're an iterator, you know that, the cloud will then redirect you to files about aliens that are more suited for an iterator to know about. Specifically, these are extra-dimensional entities, EDEs, known as, sometimes called memophores or DDEs, if someone incorrectly called that last one, data-dimensional entities. These alien creatures are programs that has achieved some level of sapience within the dimension known as the digital web. And iterators are the specialists in dealing with these aliens. They might even, in some instances, if not at least compete with void engineers in understanding them, as the digital web has also become a much more convention-neutral area. Of course, there are other conventions dealing with them, but iterators, as the hardware and software developers of the technocracy, they are the best when it comes to computers, and therefore they have a lot of knowledge when it comes to these things. Memophore can take a lot of forms. It can be programs, like a chatbot or something that's given sapience and an avatar to work around it in the realm. There's also manifestations of memes, for example, not a specific program, but recurring enough memes get enough backing in the masses' collective consciousness that they will manifest in the digital web. There's actually going to be a lecture on memophores and other dimensional entities that are open for younger operatives to attend to within the digital web itself, which you can attend if you want to get more on hands-on, lecture on these sorts of things. Yeah. It's going to be held by a void engineer. That do you have technocracy? Do you have any laws of notes?
I don't believe you gave any.
I don't give because they're a specific skill in Mage. I don't go out of my way to give them out for free. But since you have a mentor, I will actually let you roll intelligence, just a straight intelligence roll. Difficulty is 7, because you're mentors to see if you figure this out.
Okay, dokes. 2 successes.
2 successes. As you look at the name of the lecturer, Professor. I'm looking at the notes. Give me a second. Oh yeah, Professor Jane. Professor Jane, not Einstein, but Lichtenstein. Yes, it's a bad last name, but
Lichtenstein.
Yeah, it could be worse. It could be worse. It's Lichtenstein.
It could be worse. It could be Nishi-Stein.
It could be Nishi-Stein. But Jane Lichtenstein, you think at least that she has been at least partially educated and worked with your mentor, Dr. Garmander, at some point in his career. So that's something. That's a bit of a common interest there. The lecture is going to be held today. You will have to log in that you're going to this so that the information is going to go to your supervisor and all that. But, it's okay. You have dispensation to do this as it is considered a good educational opportunity for operatives who might want to branch into working with digital web related stuff.
Yep, she's definitely going to log in definitely in attendance at this lecture.
Yeah, that's great.
And you know that I'm sorry. But I've got to do this.
What do you have to do?
This.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to be her. If someone reads her mind at this moment, that's probably where they will get.
Aliens.
Aliens.
That's fine. After you've logged in that you want to, I want to go to this lecture, you will be sent an email saying, okay, that someone will meet you in this way to pick you up so that you can, so you don't venture off by yourself. Since we're talking about the lecture, okay, you can't be too careful. Now, let me just look up some system shit here for a second. Yeah, so you have to go out and requisition some of the virtual reality gear. Thankfully, they kept some screen pictures. You have to log that you're using it at present, for what purpose, and you have to make me an intelligence plus computers roll, difficulty 7. I think computer aptitude applies here, so because it's difficulty 5, I'll have to double check it, but I think it should work. Intelligence computer difficulty 5 first.
One, two, three, 4, 5.
Yeah.
Sorry, one. You say, yeah, difficulty 5. So it's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 5. Just 4.
Yeah. And that's so yeah, it just seems that's rolled enough. Doesn't say you have to do an actual roll. So yeah. So as you put on the VR gear after having programmed it accordingly to get into the right grid zone, you will suddenly open your eyes up in what looks to be a character creation screen, so that you can design your icon before you enter into the digital web. There's a bunch of pre-generated ones. That's basically
avatars. Did you say?
Yeah, icons, avatars, same thing, really. But let's call it icons, so we don't have to, keep thinking. Yeah, just so we don't have to think, oh, avatar, yeah, just for the simplicity's sake. You can just design your icon if you want to. So your basic icon is, an ugly version of yourself, or a very basic version of yourself with an appearance of 1. So you can roll an intelligent computer roll, difficulty 5, which in your case will be difficulty 3, actually. Just if you want to design something.
Yep. 1, 2. Hang on, those ones take away. It's not counting the ones.
It isn't. Or is it? 2. No, okay. Well, it's still 3 successes. So that's more than enough. You can then you can put those successes into either appearance or intimidation.
Into what, sorry?
Appearance or intimidation. You start with an appearance of 1, intimidation of 0. You can up them with successes.
Yeah, she'll put it all into appearance.
Yeah, your appearance is now 4. So after some adjustments here, some hair lengthening there, you have made a very, very pretty icon. Let me just... So you are now entering into the digital web itself. You're into what's called a C sector, which is a constrained sector. But, in this case, what looks to be a very big, sprawling town with all sorts of high tech shit going on. You see flying cars and everything. All virtual, of course, but that's what happened. As you're looking around at this marvelous thing, how you could describe what you designed her icon to look like, by the way, just so.
Like it is right now.
Yeah, just herself.
I'm just kidding, of course.
What kind of evil creature would pour Pepsi into cola?
Are you sure it's pouring Pepsi into cola, or is it pouring cola into Pepsi?
Based on the gravity of the situation, that's looks like.
Look at the fluid. If you look at it carefully, it goes either way.
Optical illusions. Anyway, yes. Optical illusions. So, essentially, everything in this has a very sort of theme, and the theme seems to be a very optimistic sort of cyberpunk. With you could see some netizens around with jetpacks on and shit flying around. That's okay. Eventually, as you're looking around with this marble, you can tell me how she reacts to this.
She'll be definitely quite intrigued.
Yes.
Because this is quite cool.
As you look around, suddenly down towards you, a man seeming to fly in some kind of it doesn't look, it almost looks like a transformer in the sense that this virtual flying car could probably be shifted into a sort of robot. But this, it looks like it is from an aesthetic perspective. And they got a man with big red microscope goggles, almost zooms in at you and hey, you mean Watanabe, right? Maybe.
Yeah. And she'll kind of until I can find something better, I'm just going to assume that she's chosen the kawaii cat girl type look as an icon. And she goes, yep, Mira Watanabe. Do you need my serial number, or do you need any other points or identification?
I'll scan your connection. Give me a second.
Okay.
I mean, you are in a Union stronghold here, so it's not that. But it's just to be sure. Cool. Come in, Ricard. I'm going to drive you to the lecture. It's held on a bit of a different sector from here, but this is a safe starting point.
Nice.
So, do you get into the car?
Yep, she'll get in the car.
Yep. Well, here we go. The car just takes off and woo, flying.
Whee.
As you fly out of the sector. We're not technically speaking. You fly over to what seems to be like a guard post, but it's fine. And he leans out and takes out sort of registration pass to show it. Yeah, we're just going out to another C sector. That's where a lecture is held by Jane Lichtenstein, taking this operative along. And, he seems to be like talking some bullshit with the guard man in the floating guard post, and then it opens a portal, and they're sucked in through the portal. And through the web you go. As you come out of the... you end up in what looks to be some kind of huge tree with lots of tiny blue birds fluttering around, suddenly just yelling shit. Like, you fly by one bird, but suddenly you see it yell, and like a speech bubble comes up. And it's like, God damn it, lost the train again. Hashtag first world problems. Now I have to wait for 5 minutes to take the other train. Oh. And then another bird flops up, and it's like, it's just about ethics and games journalism, man. Jeez. And another tweet comes up, why does this matter in a discussion about why fantasy games are cool? And then basically a bunch of other birds flocks in, and they start yelling at each other. You have seen the tweet sector. This is...
I'm literally going past a Twitter feed.
You're literally going past the Twitter feed. That's something.
That's quite interesting.
Considering
everything that's gone off on Twitter today, I'm imagining that it's quite a heavy stream.
Oh, there's lots of heavy stuff. The car is speeding away from the heavy stuff immediately. But you could roll me a perception alertness roll if you'd like. Difficulty is 6 due to perspective.
Okay. Three successes.
But as you look at this huge green tree with all of these thousands and thousands of blue birds chattering at each other, you notice something a bit more interesting. As one of the birds fly, suddenly it's almost like the skin and body of the bird just... it almost hatches like an egg in mid-air. And out of the bird floats a lolcat. And it just runs away under you. Lolcat.
Yay! Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Well, we say it's well, for Mina, she's probably seen on plenty of lolcats in her time on the internet, but she's never actually seen it in this fashion. So yeah, she's she's quite pleased at seeing old things in quite a new light.
Well, the other thing about the lolcat is that it's also noticeable is that it seems to notice you. It looks up at the car and it sort of waves, and then it goes away.
She'll perk her icon's cat ears up and probably wave back.
Yeah. Notice one of the EDs. Sure. Yes. You will see plenty of those around here with enough exploration. And then he dives down, and then after a bit of fiddling on the car, suddenly you are out of the big blue Twitter tree, and you are in, and the car parks outside of a large sort of a dome conference center-like building with several laser cannons mounted on it. I was like, so we have arrived. Gets out of the car and was like, welcome to Jane Lichtenstein's personal sector here, just been awarded by the union. It's called Research Center of EDs in the Digital Web. It's a really bad name, but she doesn't want to change it. Not that you heard that from me, but still. Now, come along, I will lead you to the lecture hall.
Okay.
Yes. So you look around and you see several, medicine's icon, like you, probably other operative and stuff, carrying books and large, stacks of data chips and all sorts of weird stuff going on. And then you're led into a large modern lecture hall with lots of space for chairs and stuff. There's a big digital board, and you see a very pleasant woman with brown hair and a white lab coat and stuff. Her avatar, her icon is remarkably plain, but she turns and waves. Ah, that's almost late arrival, I guess. And it's like, yeah, this is the last sign up. And the woman jumps down from the platform she was going to the lecture from and walks over to you. Ah, I'm Jane Lichtenstein. And you are Miss Watanabe, I presume?
Mina Watanabe. Lovely to meet you, madam.
Yes, excellent, excellent. So, nice to see that some younger operatives are taking an interest in this lecture, and that you had time from your projects to go and engage with this. This is excellent, excellent. So many are not aware of the life that's in even places such as these. She nods sagely to this.
Mm-hmm.
So, what made you decide to go and look up creatures in virtual space?
Well, we have a small problem with, reality deviance, and my mentor, Dr. Garminder, they did mention a few things about possible future training, but he suggested that I probably, if I ever get free time, to take additional lectures, to look on what's available, and take in what knowledge that I can for some of my some of my credentials.
Mm-hmm. I see. So you have your friends in high places too, and interconventional eyes had friends in high places as well. Interesting, interesting. Well, you should get some information here that will definitely be a benefit to you when or if you get to study other dimensional matters. And she jumps up back onto the platform. Before I start outlining the different interesting phenomena we could see around in the digital world, I decided that it would be nice to show a bit of a practical demonstration. She does a waving motion, and offstage, someone wheels in a cage with what looks to be a snake. It's a very active hissing snake. Looks very pissed off. This is an EDE from the Don't Tread on Me meme series. Some of you have noticed that online. It's quite aggressive to perceived slights, but it's actually sapient enough that you can communicate with it in a limited fashion. So, a lot of EDs here, called memophores by some, she frowns a bit at that, are varying in their degrees of sapience. It seems to be based on what they are, what program or concept they're based off of. If they are based off of very simplistic notions, there will be very limited in how you can communicate with them. There is the so-called nerd rage clouds, which are extremely unpleasant to deal with and extremely limited in what you can communicate with them about. But it's still possible to communicate with them. Other are much less aware of the world. So Just so you have that in mind. And she is then going to rant on a bit in her lecture about for stuff, which this lecture will be enough for you to buy the lore for digital web entities with experience points if you want to after this session.
Probably.
Yeah, so that's something. Our brave soldier man, are you around?
I'm right here.
Excellent. We're going to turn to you. As you mentioned, Li Cheng is putting you through the paces, having you try to fight what seems to be a robot, as in try to practice his martial arts. We're not going to do any rolling for this, but it's just like when you're. He stands lecturing at a board while this robot is trying to punch it, and you have been ordered to just try to duck and evade it. You're not to attack it yet. When you apply martial training to enlightened science, it's important to understand that just because you don't necessarily have a gun at hand or an energy weapon or some kind of electrical gauntlet or a syringe glove like mine, even so, just with hands and feet and your head, even if you're that sort of fighter, can be sufficient when using enlightened science. You can study body languages. You can finely tune your understanding of how the way people move and how fight. You can study their fighting styles to get a much better insight into how you are supposed to attack him and what's likely for them to do next. What is this? And you are trying to dodge for your life as this thing tries to pummel you with his huge metal fists. Based on what I've read about you, you seem to be an expert fighter, at least hand to hand. And based on your shooting today, you are at least good at that too. But so, therefore, tooling your training for when you're in a situation where how do I say this nicely? Where you're being caught with your pants down and you don't have gun, you can still do your thing. Now, I want you to try and analyze this machine code based on its pattern. See if you can spot any weaknesses in it. Essentially, you are to do. Essentially, is asking you to do a matter thing, but for the sake of simplicity, we're not making roll here. But eventually, as you dodge and you just study the thing, you will eventually pick out the few flaws near the not the elbow, but the armpit area of the robot, and one in the knee joint. When you have spotted the weakness, you are permitted to attack. So you could just describe how he will strike back against this sparring robot.
Oh, well, I think the first thing he's gonna do is go for that knee.
Yeah, how? Is he kicking
Right.
it, punching it?
So that way, he's probably gonna kick it.
Yeah, kick it straight into the
And
knee.
I've got a martial art maneuver for that.
Which one?
I'll just snap kick it.
Yeah.
And then where's the second one?
The second one is back in the armpit joint.
Oh, that's right.
Up on the shoulder, of course.
Oh, okay. Well, then I guess after I kick it there in that knee joint and immobilize it, I'll stomp on the shoulder socket.
Yeah. So the snap kick hits it very quickly in the knee, and you can see the robot buckle as the knee is clearly being purposefully weakened in advance, and it falls back, and you can then stomp down on the shoulder. You don't destroy the metal, because it's still metal even if it's weakened, but you're strong enough to put a nice dent in it. And he looks back at you and he's like, "Good, very good." He presses a remote, and the thing goes, go limp. Now, robots aren't really our style here, but it's better to study how to fight, inorganic opponents first before we test you on live ones. Just because we don't want to necessarily waste time and resources mending people you've injured after we're done. Doctors are, after all, supposed to limit how much damage they cause. He, does just twirl. He just goes around with the syringe gauntlet.
The syringe gauntlets.
The syringe gauntlets. Now, friend, he guides you over to a nice, comfy chair and sits you down. A thing about scientists like us is that the mind is so important. It can very easily be damaged doing what we do, which can be a result of many things. Trauma or reality deviants actively trying to mess with our minds. Demagogues trying to trick you with their silver tongues and so on. But there are ways to resist that. And he is going to pull out a tiny it's almost like an earbud, but it's more he puts it on the side of your temple. This is a gadget that I will teach you to use, which when activated will make it much harder for anyone to harm your mind.
Me.
Yeah, to harm your mind. As you can see, I press it into your temples. Even certain drugs meant to alter your mind state will be resisted using this. So I'll just give you some time to fiddle with it, so you can get to see how it works, and then I will teach you some other gadgets so you can use to heighten your mind, and some mind and some techniques and some drugs that can be used to make your mind much more efficient. But you should keep that little mind protector around. You don't know what kind of threats are out there.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. I prefer not to become a meat puppet.
Yes, that's good. Now, you're still very early in your education, and some would say that I should keep you here or in a different facility and educate you further before I let you out. I, on the other hand, have a different point of view. I believe that the best way to learn is through adversity, which you will. You are now allowed to, at least to a limited extent, as long as you report your activities, work with operatives. You're not an operative yet, you're still a new recruit, but you can work alongside operatives out there fighting in the trenches, so to speak, in the war we have for reality, and you will be assigned missions for you to take part of.
Well, frankly, I do learn better by doing, sir.
Excellent. You still will have to read in your textbooks, because let's be honest, you need more education when it comes to not only the human body, but also other creatures' bodies. Because the rest, yeah, you can do that. I don't need to teach you more about how to shoot things, but you need to learn much more about technology and medicine and all sorts of stuff. That will, of course, require a bit of time and book learning, not just practical experience. But still, practical experience is what I think is more expedient for a man with your particular disposition. So he chose his thing around. And now, for a much more interesting talk, let's talk about your massive psychological issues, shall we? He sits down in another chair opposite of you and crosses his legs. I'm, based on my studies of your ways, you seem to deal with a massive case of PTSD. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist. I sort of am, but I'm not officially a psychiatrist. But it seems to me that you need strict medical regimen to deal with some of your massive issues.
Yes, that's true, sir. I kind of snapped when I was picked up the first time, and I got pretty close today with Bigfoot earlier. Yeah,
Yep.
thankfully
So
I've got some cognitive behavior therapy that I learned, so I can self-medicate to a degree.
now let's talk about why you're this way. Is there any specific cause? Yes.
You're breaking up. What did you just say?
He said that is there a specific cause to why your character is the way he is?
Oh well, I've been on the front line, sir. I've done a lot of hard combat, seen a lot of good men die, a lot of horrible things happening all around me. You know, lot of noise, a lot of screaming, a lot of explosions, lots of blood and gore, and even thinking about that stuff these days is enough to
And he puts a hand on your shoulder.
make me you know, bawl and cry, or I might laugh into a frothing rage and try to kill somebody. I don't know. It depends on just the trigger itself. I mean, what kind of mindset I was in before.
So you're clearly very, very unstable.
Yes, in a way of speaking, it can be. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. You should get some medicine for that. I will see about getting that fixed for you, and see someone who cares enough to fix this. Which there probably is, but psychiatry is not my field of study. But you should be public about these things, as I wouldn't want you to break down when you're hunting a reality deviant, for example.
That would be very bad.
Exactly. And I would advise you to not carry around guns in public. One, due to legal reasons over here. Secondly, because I don't think it would be safe for the general populace if you had a weapon available in case you have a breakdown. Just so you know.
Well, that's difficult for me, sir. I'm used to having some kind of arm at hand, just to have it, just in case I need it.
Carry a knife then.
Okay, sir.
When you're proven, when you're more provenly stable, you will be able to carry guns again. But at present, I can't have you shooting up facilities or personnel. It's merely a safety precaution, at least for now. Um, let's go for lunch now. It's been taking forever. And he puts his hands
All
back on
right.
his head and then just walk up. And you will get a lovely lunch. And there's hamsters and everything running around in the eating locale at your front. So that's nice. The food
Friggin'
it's
hamster shooting coming from the ceiling.
hamsters, there's cats, all sorts of animals roaming about, and there's lots of plants and stuff. So I think that's it for your first basic training scene today. I think we've covered comes from Grant. You've been given some introduction to sphere theory. You've been helping to dissect the big monster. And your mentors just casually dismiss your mental problems and all your battlefield experience. Like, that sounds like a problem. So,
Yeah.
an empathetic guy that cares about you deeply. Apparently. And on Watanabe's end, she's gone to the digital web. She's getting a lecture about Force and all sorts of stuff. So I think things have been accomplished today. And I think we can end this scene for now. I will send you guys some details later, but I have to go now because in real life stuff for a second. So I will be around later. See you around. Good boys.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.